Well, hey there. If you think you're here watching and listening to me, welcome. Today I'll be JP Sears, and I'm very happy that I'm here. And if you're actually there, I'm very happy that you're here joining me today as we celebrate awakened living. I'm very excited to celebrate, excuse me. I'm excited enough that I forgot how to swallow. And with that said, I'm excited to celebrate with you your dedication and my dedication to this elusive deal called awakened living. So we're here to celebrate the holy matrimony of all that. To me, what else is worth celebrating more than awakening yourself to the brilliance of who you are? I mean, to me, that just makes a birthday party pale in comparison. A birthday party, you didn't even do anything to be born. Let's just forget all the cosmic stuff that happened to make you born. But here we are, honoring your relentless dedication to awakened living. What else is worth celebrating more? I asked the question twice, so I must really be curious about it. I'd also like to invite you today to participate in a free giveaway with me a little bit later on today on our broadcast. I will be giving away a free seat to a video seminar I am doing this coming Tuesday, I believe it's Tuesday, called The Wisdom of Your Dreams, which is taking a look at your night dreams and the wisdom that floods through you in your night dreams, and how you can learn from that, how you can grow from that, how you can paradoxically awaken more from what happens when you're asleep at night. So that drawing, that giveaway will happen in a little bit. What do you have to do to enter that giveaway? It's a good question that I just asked myself. All you have to do is leave a question or a comment here on the YouTube screen, and you'll be entered in the drawing. Is that exciting or what? Hopefully a little more exciting than it is what. By the way, aside from the free giveaway deal, the main purpose, or the main avenue that I would like to celebrate awakened living with you today is by you and I doing a dance together. I'd like to dance with you via the energetic expression of your questions and your comments, said in a little bit more plain English. Please post in your questions, your comments that you would like me to speak to during our broadcast today. I am here to dance with you. I do a lot of monologue videos where I am talking to you through the camera. I want to talk with you today. I want to hear from you. So I'm pretty excited about the mystery of what you might be asking. And please know, as we do the dance today, there is no part of me that I'm aware of that has that has the ability to actually swallow correctly. There is no part of me that I'm aware of that has the intention of actually answering your questions and handing you your answer on a silver platter. If I do that, then your job is to crawl through this computer screen and kick me in the side of the head. To me, one of the biggest forms of disrespect is when someone tries to give you an answer to your question, your curiosity, your life riddle. What happens to your level of wakefulness if someone else is giving you your answers? Asleep you go. We have no need, there's no intrinsic force that will wake us up unless it's us who is in search for answers to our own questions, solutions to our own problems. So my intention as we do the dance of questions, answers, comments, reflections today is for me to offer you opinions, food for thought, possibilities that you may have not considered, maybe reaffirm possibilities you have considered. Your job is always to decide what your answer is and how long that is going to be your answer. So with that said, please feel free, start shooting your thoughts and questions my way. I'll be looking for those on my comment screen here as we go. Let me just make sure I'm good. I'm just pretending like I know how to control technology. Hopefully the pretending is working pretty well. And like any great celebration, before the clowns start falling from the ceiling and balloons start polluting the environment and choking birds, it's a pretty gruesome thought there, JP. I would be happy to just share a few things going on in my life. Some things I'm grateful for, and I would dare say these are some of what's going on in my life happens to be the fruit of the labor of my awakening. I sure have a lot of me that's yet to wake up. Yeah, I'm happy to share with you that, let's see, what's it been? Close to 4 months ago, I relocated from California here to Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm very grateful for this conscious community to invite me in. I've been running in-person classes and workshops and working with new in-person one-on-one clients, and I really can't say enough about how grateful I am to find home wherever my heart is, and here it happens to be in Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm also very blessed to say my girlfriend and I have bought a house here just a few weeks ago. So part of me gets to have his feet rooted in the ground in a pretty cool way. Also very excited to say in, let's see, less than a week, about 1 week, I will be off to Australia where I'll be running a retreat, and I'm very grateful for the lovely folks who are going to be joining me on that retreat. I've been having a wonderful time running the live video seminars, classes that I do, working with one-on-one clients that I do. I'm excited. I'll be offering a retreat in Denmark coming up in November. The details of that are yet to be released, so please stay tuned for that. That's my way of saying, yes, I have my shadow side. Yes, I have my pain and my struggles. And first things first, I am pretty darn grateful to be awake to some of these blessings in my life. Is one of the purposes of waking up so that we can become aware of the blessings that are already in our life. I love the saying that prayer is asking for things to happen in your life, and meditation is developing the sensitivity to realize those things are already happening or present in your life. So some of us would say, well, I want different things in my life. I want peace. I want self-confidence. And then weirdos like you and I who are in our waking up process would say, I want to wake up so that I can realize the confidence that I already have. I'm blocked to it. But maybe we are whole and complete just the way we are. And the purpose of our awakening is so that we can actually open our eyes and open our senses to the whole person, the magnificence of who we are. When we're asleep, the scariest thing is we are, some would say, well, we're asleep to what's happening around us. I would say no big deal. What matters most is how we're asleep to ourselves, how we're asleep to our mind, body, heart, and soul, how we're asleep to our brilliance, how we're asleep to our pain, therefore how we're asleep to our greatest joys. So that's pretty interesting. Self-realization through waking up to how magnificent we already are. Well, there's more I'm going to be saying, because I have actually a lot of excitement just spilling out of me. I mean, how often do we get a chance to just sit down and say, our purpose is to celebrate and be thankful for how I've woken up in my life? I actually don't know if I've ever taken this opportunity. In fact, I'm pretty confident this broadcast is for me rather than you guys. That's how selfish I am. That's how thirsty I am to drink in the gratitude of my awakening. Yay. Well, I'm going to jump into a question that I've seen find me from Holly, who says, I feel smothered by responsibility, parentheses family, and I feel guilty if I think about being assertive with my own growth. I love it. How do I navigate my way out of this feeling? That's pretty cool. So here's a lady awake enough to realize how she's asleep. She's awake enough to realize how she feels smothered and suffocated by her responsibilities, her family. And I love the sensitivity to the emotional reaction when Holly thinks about, oh, if I really dedicate myself to honoring my life, I'm greeted with a sense of guilt. If I'm devoting my heart, my purpose to my life, the guilt says, I'm abandoning these people. I'm abandoning these people who I feel smothered by. And it's a dilemma, because here I am when I'm feeling smothered by them. Underneath the smothering feeling, if we could actually dig deep enough, we would probably find I feel guilty for abandoning myself. I feel disconnected. I feel like I'm in a living hell. How'd I get here? And damn it, it's my family's fault. And those, of course, being my words of reflected dramatization. And Holly, you may be on board with this thought already. If not, I'll invite you to consider it. That it's not your family that smothers you. Who is the only person who can dig themselves into a hole and stay there and cover themselves up with dirt? Obviously, it's a leading question, and maybe the answer is only we can do it. Only we can suffocate ourselves with other people. Only we can look at their expectations and say, I have to meet those. If I don't meet them, who will? And if nobody meets them, how will they feel about themselves? They might get unstable. What would happen to them? They might feel powerless. They might feel out of control. A powerful step of awakening here, and Holly, I think the majority of people either have found themselves or are in your shoes. A powerful step of awakening is for us to progressively realize, or maybe it's all of a sudden realize, My family smothers me. That's one step of awakening. That's powerful. We can't get out of the hole until we know we're in it. And we can't take the plastic bag off our head that's suffocating us until we know there's a plastic bag on our head. And initially, the process of anger will always project out people before we go inward with it. So we project it outward. So it's a very natural step of awakening to say, it's my family that smothers me. The next step of awakening just might be, it's me who smothers me. It's me who smothers me with the self-imposed burden of it's my job to be responsible for my family. They may have asked me to, or they may not have asked me to, but it's only I who can swim into the swamp and keep my head stuck in the mud. It doesn't sound very compassionate. That's interesting. The next step of awakening might just be after we've considered it's me who's responsible for smothering myself with them. We would awaken into a consciousness that says, why do I do that? Here's the question that moves us into that consciousness. What part of me benefits? Said another way, how does part of me benefit by being smothered with responsibility with my family? Then another step to awaken to the next level of consciousness could be, what would the negative consequence be if I chose to accept the guilt of honoring my life rather than dishonoring my life in favor of being responsible for my family? What would the negative consequence of that be? What would a positive consequence of that be? Then the next step of awakening would be for us to move from the place of contemplation and experiencing the emotions that come up for us through these several phases of awakening I've talked about, and we implement it. We experience the terror of the positive and negative consequences of choosing to honor ourselves. It's very scary. Holly, I would share with you, I was working with a client no more than a couple hours ago, just this morning, and she has absolutely her version, very close version of what you're talking about here. And what I invited her to do was to realize that her guilt feels like the bad guy, yet it is in fact the growing pain of growing into herself. It was pretty cool. So what does that mean? If you and I aren't willing to experience the discomfort of guilt, then we'll be saying no to our life. We'll be choosing sleep rather than wakefulness. We'll be choosing dullness rather than sensitivity. We'll be choosing, pardon the drama, death rather than our life. Guilt feels bad, so we assume it's the bad guy. In this case, Holly, what if you found out guilt is the sensation, it's the biofeedback that says you are on the track of yourself. You are on the right track. As long as you're following the North Star in your sky, you'll feel the sensation of guilt. Reactively, we don't like to feel discomfort. It's, oh, I'm guilty. I can't go that way. So I'll choose the familiar route of suffocation. All of this, Holly, is very easy to talk about. It's very challenging to do. But my experience of this growth and awakening that you're talking about is it'll never be perfect. I find myself, I'll march in what feels like my authentic direction, in spite of how I believe my family's expectations and responsibilities aren't being met. Yet there's no way I can live life for them and live my life for me. So as I do my best to do that, I do notice at times I get sucked in. I get sucked in into avoiding the guilt. When you mention guilt, may I up the ante? How about if there's guilt, then that means underneath it, a layer or two or even deeper, we'll find something even more intense that we don't want to face. It would be shame. Leaving home. Some of us have left home physically, but not necessarily leaving home energetically. To leave home, we have to encounter the rite of passage of shame. And I would ask all of us listening right now, my shame of leaving home, am I aware of it yet? Or am I numb to it? If I'm numb to it and say, well, I don't have shame about leaving home, then there's a real good chance it means we just haven't dug into it yet. We haven't reached a section of our rite of passage into our own life. What's the shame all about? For me, the shame is a rite of passage that necessitates us having the belief I'm not enough to be what my family needs me to be. I'm not enough to take care of them. I'm not enough to make them happy. I'm not enough to be there enough for them. Or if we were the scapegoat in our family, I'm not enough to be enough of a screw up for them. I'm not enough to be defiant enough to them. So the exciting news is, once we go through the guilt of not being blindsided by it, there is shame. There absolutely is shame there. One head of the shame is what I just described, the shame of I'm not enough to take care of them. Another head of the shame can be I'm not enough to make them strong enough to take care of themselves. And then there's another head of the shame that says I'm abandoning them. And that's very interesting. How we feel as though we're making an orphan out of our parents when we energetically leave home. What that means is I'm stepping into my life. I'm going to be assertive about my own growth. I love those words, Helen. Why is that? That we would look at our parents and have this emotional reaction like they'll be orphans if I leave. We have this shame of abandonment, and then we want to avoid that. Well, I can't do that. Which really means I can't go into this shame that I'm abandoning them. I can't do that. So why does that happen? Well, if you have any of the JP disease, it could mean from probably a very early age, you took on a disorder. You took your place out of the proper order of love in your family. energetically, from my point of view, the order of love should flow downhill in a family, just like water flows downhill. From grandma and grandpa to mom and dad to children and eventually to grandchildren. That is a proper order of love. When we're disordered, it means as a young child, you looked at your parents and without even knowing you were thinking it or doing it, you took on the posture that said, you need to be taken care of, mom or dad or both. I'll take care of you. Because something about you doesn't feel completely safe. You don't feel like a 100% stable, solid post for me to lean on. You feel like a shaky post. The reason why that is, hate to burst everybody's bubble, our parents were actually these things called human beings. So of course they had their insecurities, their unresolved pain and wounding. They are as human as anybody else. But as a child, out of our innocence and more so in this case our naiveness, we expect our parents should be impeccable gods and goddesses. Perfect, not flawed. I need a perfectly stable post. Says the innocence, naiveness, and the neediness of any child, the child that I certainly once was, and maybe you were too. So we start taking care of the parent. I'll be the one to make you more stable. So that means we start changing ourselves. Right away, we're betraying ourselves. I'm not being who I am. I'm not being the yelling, screaming kid, or I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm not doing art when I want to do art. Nope. I'm doing what I think Daddy wants me to do. I'm doing what I think Mommy wants me to do. And I'll hide the emotions I have that I think that would make them scared. I'll certainly hide the ones that I have that I think would make them angry. Sorry, it's getting humid and my hair is not behaving. That scares me. I'll have to appease an oral fixation to nurture my infant self with a sip of tea. So in other words, at a very early age, what if we realize we stop being a kid and we assume the disordered position of trying to parent our parents? You may have been 1 year old, 3 years old, 5 years old when you took on this curse. All children will take it on to some degree. Is it a necessary curse? I would dare say, absolutely. A curse only stays a curse if we don't know it's there and never break that cocoon off us. So that might be why we would look at our parents present day or our families, be they our parents or be it our wives, husbands, kids today. It's just all the same expression. So we might look at our family and say, wow, I can't orphan you guys because my insides, my heart, my energy, it's all twisted. I'm the small child that says I have to give my life away in order to feel like I'm parenting my parent, because if I don't do that, I am scared to death. Because if my parent gets too unstable and feels too unsafe, something might happen to them, which means something would happen to me. My life depends on my parent. So if I need to end my life in order to save their life, in order to preserve my life, I will gladly kill myself to let that happen. Does it not take a lot of waking up to do to realize this? This is an energy that doesn't go on in our waking consciousness. It is happening cellularly. That's why you might even feel it churning on your stomach. Some people will even feel sick when we talk about no longer being everything their family needs them to be. It takes a lot of waking up to get to that point of realization. Once we've realized, yes, I'm the disordered child trying to take care of my parents, which means, guess what? They've polarized themselves around us. At least they have, according to our perception and reality. Maybe they haven't, but our reality isn't based on reality. It's based on our relative perception of reality. So according to our perception, there's an unspoken message. And I would say it's even a fear that says, my family will get mad at me. They might even disapprove of me. They might even disown me. They might even blame me for their life becoming hell when I'm trying to wake up into my heaven on earth. That's a very strong seduction. It's a very strong whirlpool to not get sucked into. It's very tempting, and it's very strong. If whoever the members are of your family here, Howie, if they have polarized themselves around you, then their child self will react. Of course they will. Anger, going into patheticness, victimness, it's a desperate attempt to try and keep their caregiver in their life. And before I go on to a different thought and question here, Holly, there's a lot of density here in your enlightening question. Let me just end with this cold splash of water in the face. This is actually pretty darn direct. It's pretty hard, not very soft, but here's how it wants to come out. The more you take care of your family, the more you handicap them. The more you're saying, here, use my legs to get through life. The more that happens, whose legs are getting weaker and weaker and weaker because they have no reason to use their own legs. For all of us rescuers out there who say, I love the oxygen of smothering myself underneath the responsibilities and expectations of my family, it's a rude awakening for the rescuer to realize I'm handicapping people. I'm not actually rescuing them, though that's how it appears, though nothing is as it seems. It says maybe the waking light that floods in through the skylight. So the rescuer finds out, I have not been rescuing people all this time. I've been handicapping them. Holy Lord. That is scary. And then the light flooding in from the skylight might also tell us, in order for them to walk, they have to go through their separation anxiety. It might be a little intense, it might be a lot intense. It might be a little intense, but you perceive it a lot intense. But the light from above might just say they have to go through that separation anxiety or they'll never walk. They'll be the butterfly that's cut out from the cocoon. It never flies because it's the struggle to get out of the cocoon that strengthens the wings of the butterfly. Then the last rude awakening question would be, by taking care of the family, We're handicapping them, and who else are we handicapping? They probably look very similar to us when we look in the mirror. So thank you, Holly, for letting me speak to this question. In my experience, it only applies to about 7 billion people on Earth. So hopefully some of us were listening to our own thoughts that came up as you were listening to my thoughts. And honestly, you've allowed me to speak to it in a passionate way, not so much compassionate. I know there's a lot of pain and discomfort and insecurity and uncertainties and fears and shames and grief to go through in this rite of passage. That's all there. You've allowed this to flow from more of a passionate place. That's exciting. Well, I'm going to jump to another question from a guy named Jason King, which either means he's a king named Jason or he's Jason with the last name King. I'm not sure. So King Jason says, I'm guessing that some of the anger that I experience within myself results from giving parts of myself to replace the parts of my parents that I judge to be damaged or disconnected from me. Amen to that, brother. As I write, that is quite an expectation of responsibility. I love that. So what I'm hearing Jason say is, okay, felt to me like mom was missing a leg. She was unstable. So Jason's saying, okay, so that means I gave mom one of my legs. Yep. Mom's missing an authentic self. Well, I'll give my authentic self away. Mom or dad's missing emotional support. I'll give my emotional support to them. No, I won't give it to me. I'll give it to them. Carl Jung has said the greatest burden the child must carry is the unlived life of the parent. And it's not the unlived life that the parent talks about. It says, yeah, I wish I would have done this and this and this. It's the unlived life that the child feels energetically and intuitively from the parent. So the parent never says, please, dear child, give your authentic self away so that you can make up my inner void of emotional support, so that you can make up my inner void of validation by giving me your validation. There's, on a human record, that probably hasn't happened yet. But it's us as children, adult child, JP over here, we're in this energetic dance with our family. It's just like if you're in a swimming pool. You know, those round swimming pools that are in people's backyards, they're 4 feet deep. When you're in that pool with your family, when one of them moves, do you realize you feel them move? You can have your eyes closed, you can have headphones on, you can be looking in the opposite direction, but we'll feel them move because we're in this energetic suit with our family. So the unlived life, if we feel the movement, my sister is just turning around in circles, and I can feel the chaos of that because it comes off through the water, the subtle energy. So I start to say, well, I don't feel comfortable with that. Let me give her my support so she doesn't have to spin around. Or I feel mom just falling over and I get splashed. I feel that. Let me give her my support. Thank you, Jason. I see a couple follow-up comments from you. Let me just act like I can read those. Jason says, up until recently, I always saw myself as the child around my family. You talk about staying in a compliant situation to make what I feel is necessary to keep shit together. So you had a question, how does someone like myself go beyond this long-lasting bond that I have created between myself, my parents, and the many other parts of me? So that's only a 12-hour long discussion to your beautiful question, Jason. I would guess, like the rest of us, it's important for a wise person like Jason to ask a question so that he can invite himself to begin considering, what is my answer to that? And in this case, you get a little reflection from a redhead. So, speaking to this follow-up question of yours, Jason, he says the unique situation is, I see myself as the child in the family. I'm a grown man, but I keep myself in the position of a child. And whereas Holly is representing the other polarity, no, I'm in the position of an adult. It's like the rest of my family is the child. We're so confused. Well, I think a lot of us can relate to Jason, where why do I stay the child in my family? Does giving mom and dad someone to care about, worry about, have expectations about, and feel disappointment in themselves that they're not enough to raise a child that they want, is that what mom and dad actually want? Better said, is that what we energetically perceived that they wanted? If so, we become the cylinder to try and fill the hole, the void that we think they have. If I think mom and dad need a child forever to take care of, then I'll become that. Do we realize that we pick up, oh, mom and dad need someone to worry about. I can't be an adult because there's not really much to worry about in an adult. They take care of themselves, they're self-sufficient. So I'll become the child. I might be the child emotionally, mentally. I might have the child archetype play out in my career where I'm never there. I'm staying a child relative to the adult placement in a career or relationships. Some of us who would find ourselves doing that, we might realize, what purpose would someone have if they're not worrying about me? In other words, what if you found out people live through you when you stay the child? Because it gives them a sense of purpose. The more I worry, says these mythical parents, maybe of Jason's, the more I worry, the more my life has meaning, the more my life has a reason. I need to worry about you. If you weren't there to worry about, what would I do? In other words, if mom and dad, or if we perceive mom and dad aren't connected deeply to themselves, then the prophecy of Carl Jung might ring true. The unlived life of mom and dad will burden the child. And in this case, it burdens the child by compelling the child to keep themselves a child. Mom and dad can't keep us a child. We keep ourselves as the child. I'll keep being a screw up. Mom and dad says not our words but our actions. I go out and get in trouble, or lose all my money, or lose all my relationships, lose my place to live. I'll stay a screw up so you can worry. It gives them direction, it gives them meaning. So then the awakening question is, what would it be like, and how would it feel to us to watch these lovely people we might call mom and dad sit there and feel purposeless? How would you feel watching your family feel purposeless? And would you be willing to go through the pain and the struggle of watching them feel purposeless in the name of honoring your life, dedicating you to you. If you ask me that question, different parts of me will answer it differently in different times of the day. It's a question that will always, the answer to it will always move. It's not going to be a stagnant, static deal. Life is moving. Before I jump into another question, I'd like to just share a thought with all of us. I believe it is perhaps a genesis inside of all of us that motivates our awakening. It might take 10 years, 10 decades, or 10 lifetimes for the genesis of this seed to begin to germinate. I believe the genesis inside this seed is somehow inherently deep inside all of us know the purpose of my life is to live my life. The purpose of my life is to be myself. What if we actually inherently know that? The purpose of my life is to express a creative force through me that is necessary to express, and it could never be expressed the same way through anybody else. If that's actually a genesis and energy inside the mysterious seed in all of us, I would dare say that's what creates our desire, our passion, and our willingness to awaken. Waking up is tough to do. It's not an easy job. Yet I do believe there's somehow, some way, a reason why some of us choose the tougher path in life, though it's a more meaningful path in life, of being awake. And I believe this seed inside all of us motivates us. We feel as though it's our mission to honor this seed that says, my life, the purpose of my life is for me to live my life. And some of our inner children are in our wounded ego parts that just want to make other people happy. Get very irritated by this seed, that it's the seed, the river of life that just wants to flow in the direction of our true self. Not our false self that we become trying to be everything for our families, other people, but it flows in, it's a very strong river, and it flows in the direction of who we really are and what we're really here to do. And there's nothing more irritating for our ego than this river of life, because we can't fight it. We can try and fight it, but there's no way we can fight it off. This river of life flows stronger maybe than we ever will be. What if that's true? I'm going to jump to another question. Boy, I got really excited about that. I'm all sweaty now. The only cure for me being sweaty is to have some more hot tea. My mother didn't raise me right. She should have taught me to drink cold things when I'm hot. I just have to pick on my mom. She is absolutely lovely. Well, there's a lovely person named Deanna Deaver who says, I'm learning to accept that I don't have control over what happens in life. Yikes, let's just all poop our pants about that. Can you speak more about that and how we can cope better with the times we feel out of control? Uh, I would love to share thoughts on that. In fact, first I'll share a thought. A client, uh, lovely person, I'll keep anonymous, but she'll know who she is. She taught me what I consider to be a true blessing in the form of words. And these words are, I have no control and it's okay. What if we can just bless ourselves with that once in a while? We acknowledge our terrifying reality. I have no control. And then we offer the blessing of, it's okay. In other words, the only way to have peace of mind about feeling out of control is to feel in control about being out of control. And the trick of that is to feel in control about being out of control without actually being in control. Otherwise, we're just running around in a circle. So in other words, does it give me a sense of control enough when I say I have no control and it's okay? The fact that I have no control, if that's okay, then maybe paradoxically I feel sometimes okay and in control about not having control. When we believe, I don't know who gave us this belief originally. I mean, it was just probably some weirdo playing the cruelest joke ever conceived on humanity. The joke of, hey, humans, you guys should have control. You're supposed to. Man, I'd say that joke actually crossed a line. That goes too far. That's just cruel. Why is it we believe we should have control? So what if we actually allow part of us, at least, to believe, well, maybe I'm not supposed to have control. Maybe the only thing I can control is my ability to surrender my need to control. Maybe I can't even control my desire to surrender control. Maybe, and it says a curious spot inside of me, I am nothing more than a vessel here to observe life that flows through me, through actions, thoughts, words, emotions, and inspirations. Maybe all I am is the observer of this life. My ego says I'm in control of this life, and I say, well, maybe I'm not my ego. And maybe my ego is not even really there. Maybe my ego is simply an illusion. Maybe I am truly just observing everything. And maybe the biggest illusion of control is me believing that I can control anything. And I could pour my cup of tea on myself. Part of me would say, in JP's lower self, I'm not in control of that. It's perhaps a thoughts, words, deeds, expression coming from an higher self. And then, of course, my ego, when like that, it hates it when you tell it doesn't have control. And it says, well, maybe I should just jump through the window. Well, if that's what's destined to come through me, then maybe that's what I'll do. And maybe it's destined to come through me, the belief and tension that I'm supposed to be in control for a little while. And speaking more directly to this beautiful question that for me it's an open window to peace of mind. Hell on earth is, for me, is feeling out of control when I reactively feel I should be in control. So we open the window to peace of mind when we realize, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be in control. Maybe my job is to surrender, not control. We can look at how fast we age, and physically as well as mentally and emotionally. I mean, you want to see someone who is very worn out, very aged mentally. Look at people who are suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's. They have accelerated their aging, perhaps based on how much they tried to control in life. There is nothing more that will accelerate our stress response, our cortisol levels, and therefore our aging process more than trying to control what we can't control. Or physically, I age. You know, the tenser you are, you look at your face. Does this face look like an old face or a young face? This is the face of control. Probably looks pretty beautiful. So you can see the more I try and control, the older I get. And have you ever seen someone, you say, wow, I saw you last month and you look 10 years younger, what'd you do? They'll probably blame it on, well, I left a relationship, or I left my job, or I opened my heart, but what they're really saying is I surrendered control. When we go from this to this, becoming the tight clenched fist with our mind, body, and heart, to the open hand, soft, supple, relaxed. And in fact, if you care to join me, I'd ask you to feel the facial tension you carry. We can tell a lot by our faces. How much control you carry. You can find barometers anywhere. There is a huge barometer in your face. Feel the tension. How tense do you keep your jaw? What about up here? How tense are these muscles? How about around your eyes? When you notice tension, what if you ask yourself, what am I trying to control here? I notice for myself, if I feel insecure about myself in my relationship with my girlfriend, usually projected outward as, I think she's mad at me. You look at my face, I walk around and go, So I'm trying to control her so that I can feel in control. So my job when I realize that is, relax here, JP. I'll let my body be an open window into my mind, heart, and emotions. I'll relax my face, and I'll get curious. What am I trying to control? Oh yeah, I'm trying to control her again. Well, I don't have control over her, and it's okay. We'd also want to notice our breath. Our face, our breath, and the tension or relaxation will tell us how fast we're aging. Am I attempting to be in control or attempting to surrender? There's one other direct thought to Deanna's lovely question. For me, there has to be a paradox. I challenge everybody to find the language that says part of me is trying to control. But what part of you can surrender? Is it an angry inner child, for example, that's trying to control? Well, can another part of you be the parent that says, it's okay, you're upset? Rather than trying to control the control by saying, it's not okay, you're upset. Oh, I'll surrender to my own control. Is one of the purposes of life to learn how to humbly surrender to a higher power. Some would say yes, others would say, well, that sounds pretty goofy, JP. If that's true, if the purpose of life is, one of the purposes of life is to humbly surrender to a higher power, then maybe it necessitates, it's very purposeful that parts of me try and control what they can't control so that I have something to surrender to. I surrender that I can't control you. What that paradoxically aligns for us is we need to try and control so that we can surrender. If part of us wasn't trying to control, we would have zero to surrender. And some would say, well, how long do we do this? How do I get out of this cycle of control, surrender, or control, 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 control? And what if we reminded ourselves what we already know, that life is a journey, not a destination? What if you'll always need to perceive there's something that you can't control so that you can go into a deeper bow of humble surrender, even deeper than you did yesterday, and even deeper than you did the day before? And please don't be fooled by the idea of, I'm an awakened person. I shouldn't be trying to control anymore. Do you realize you're trying to control by saying, I shouldn't try and control anymore? Yikes. So maybe we can actually throw the word awakened in the trash and honor the word awakening. Awakening implies it's a journey. It's a never-ending journey, awakening. I'll always need to have part of me delusional, believing it's trying to control or that it can control, so that part of me can surrender. And I bow down and surrender. And then the next time, I bow down and surrender even further. What if we found out when we actually energetically angle ourselves deeper into a bow of humble surrender, we're energetically aligning ourselves to receive more from our higher self. We energetically bow deeper and deeper so that we can align our crown chakra to just the right angle to be connected. If we're energetically standing upright rather than bowing in surrender, we're missing the point. Do you realize there's a reason why the ancients, whether they were humans or something beyond humans, the ancients who built the pyramids, there's a reason why they didn't just build a straight up and down building. They knew they had to build the pyramids at just the right angle in order for the pyramids to receive the consciousness from above. So in other words, our humble surrender to our control is what creates the holy temple of our body. We become the pyramid to connect to something far greater than us. And get this, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have part of us trying to control. We would never have had something to create the bow of surrender, to bring the pyramid into alignment, into just the right angle, to connect and channel something very significant. That's pretty interesting. If we try and control the control, we're not bowing. with that said, it's actually some pretty interesting food for thought you guys have created a dance with. And I appreciate these questions so far. And before I get to the drawing, to select the lucky winner, which, by the way, just kind of the last call, question or comment to enter yourself into the free giveaway for my upcoming on Tuesday, The Wisdom of Your Dreams live video seminar. In order to be entered into that, just post a question or a comment. You have probably about 1 or 2 more minutes to do that, and then the doors close and we're selecting the winner. So, in the meantime, I'd like to ask all of you an awakening question. It's going to be a 2-part question. Are you ready for it? Which, by the way, you're more than welcome to comment your answers into the comment section. First part, what does your ego want from your life? Second part, what would you guess your soul wants from your life? First part, what does your ego want from your life? Second part, which are ego wishes we weren't wise enough to ask. What would you guess your soul wants from your life? I would dare say we need to know there is a difference. We don't even have to know what the difference is, though that's beautiful and expansive when we find that out. Maybe we need to know there is a difference between what I want from my life versus what my soul wants, needs from my life. Otherwise, we might just become the blind, sleeping slaves that are plugged into the matrix of our own ego, forever asleep, so that our ego can feel in control. It's a very sleeping realm that we'll be existing in if we only know how to go after what our ego wants from our life. I want money, I want power, I want attention, I want recognition. Well, okay. All that'll put me to sleep if I go after it blindly. But the loud, obnoxious alarm clock that wakes us up to the necessity of our own life is found through the question, what would I guess my soul wants from my life? That's the path of living wide awake, knowing that it is a journey, it's awakening. Parts of me are asleep, parts of me are awake, and parts of me that are awake enough to see that parts of me are still asleep. That's great, because now I can help those parts of me out. And I'm always in this perpetual awakening. A little bit wider, and a little bit wider than I used to be. So with that said, I'm going to invite you guys to sit with that question, and please sit with it close to your heart. And I'd ask you to be super honest with yourself. What does your ego want from your life? Let yourself be arrogant. Let yourself be delusional in how you answer it. You're asking for your ego's answer. Of course it's delusional. And then what would you imagine your soul wants from your life? So I am going to, in my own special way, randomly get to our winner. Please cue the drum roll. And our winner of the free spot into my upcoming The Wisdom of Your Dreams live video seminar is this lovely person named Jason King. Well, Jason, congratulations on winning. Hopefully our program on The Wisdom of Your Dreams doesn't put you to sleep on Tuesday, and if it does put you to sleep, I hope you're blessed with the wisdom to look at your dreams in a very wakeful way. One of the ways we can wake up more and more in our life is realizing when we go to sleep at night, that's when we wake up. And if we can pay attention to what happens when we're asleep, there is a communication that happens from our unconscious, our higher self, to our lower self. Our unconscious is talking to us. I'm not talking about unconscious as in like, oh, I don't know. No, I'm talking about not below consciousness. We have below consciousness, then our thought level awareness consciousness, and then the unconsciousness where our dreams come from that is so awake we can't comprehend it for our waking minds. So in other words, long story short, paying attention to our dreams makes it so that when we go to sleep at night, we are waking up. And is it possible that when we wake up in the morning, we're actually going to sleep? We're temporarily turning our backs on this very conscious, waking message that we get in our dreams. I'll tell you, my experience is that doing dream work is engaging with the wisest source of guidance that there will ever be in your life. For me, the guidance that comes to us in our dreams helps us wake up. It's wiser than any wise man you'll find on a hillside, any wise woman you'll find on the mountaintop, and wiser than any dolphin you'll find in the ocean, wiser than any owl, and wherever you think wisdom is. The wisdom is in you, and the dreams come from within you through a consciousness greater than our waking mind, and it's there to drink from through our dream work. So Jason, I'm glad that you'll be able to join me for that program, and for the rest of you on this broadcast. If you would like to join me for Tuesday's The Wisdom of Your Dreams live video seminar, please jump on my website, innerawakeningsonline.com, and you'll see the upcoming classes, and click on The Wisdom of Your Dreams, and it's actually incredibly inexpensive to join. It's only $25. And most of that goes towards dog food for my lovely Zephyr. Maybe that was a part of me that has shame about receiving money for my offerings. That's interesting. Yeah, I just got in touch with that. To all of my brothers and sisters, I can't say enough about how grateful I am that you would join me to celebrate living an awakened life. I am so grateful that you allowed it to happen in this unique dance of us bouncing consciousness off of each other. Questions, reflections, your reflections about my reflections, about your questions. So thank you so much for walking your path while I walk on my path. Though they might have their differences, I do believe that all roads lead to Rome. Who wants to go to Rome? Some would say. Well, of course, if home is where the heart is, then Rome is also where the heart is. I appreciate being on this planet with fellow people, living in a time of self-realization, and choosing to live the thankless path of an awakened life. Nobody else will ever thank you for waking yourself up. So please let today be a reminder to thank yourself once in a while for your dedication into honoring yourself. I'll look forward to talking with you guys next time and through upcoming videos. And in the meantime, please feel free to be in touch with me anytime. Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.